Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the regular meeting of the Liquor Control Commission for Monday, October 7th. Please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We're ready.
Clerk.
Okay. Commissioner Vogel?
Here.
Commissioner Patantos? Present. Commissioner Lang?
Here.
Commissioner Kruger?
Present.
Commissioner Rufato?
Here.
Chairman Horker?
Here.
And Trustee Vito is absent with prior notice.
You have before you the minutes of the special meeting of August 19th, 2019. I need a motion for their approval.
So moved.
Second.
Motion, Trustee Vogel. Second, Trustee Papantos. Roll call.
Chairman Kruger? Or sorry, Chairperson Kruger. Sorry.
Yes.
Commissioner Lang?
Yes.
Commissioner Papantos?
Yes.
Commissioner Rufato?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogel?
Yes.
Chairman Horker?
Yes. Citizens' concerns and comments?
Members of the general public may address the Liquor Control Commission with comments regarding issues relevant to the Commission agenda or topics that the Commission has the authority pursuant to the Village Code to address. No citizen shall speak for more than 5 minutes without the consent of the Commission. Members of the general public who wish to address the Commission must sign the request to speak form prior to the commencement of the public meeting. Grace Bastone.
And just as a reminder, this is a time for citizens to make their comments and express their concerns and the Commission to listen. Neither the Commission nor the staff will be answering questions. Hello.
Hello. Good evening. I have a concern regarding the approval of the minutes from the regular meeting of September 16th, first of all, because there is a question in that I viewed the meeting on television regarding the cost or the increase in price in the D4 license. And the cost has gone up from like $250, if you remember, to $7,500. It's a $300 increase for a packaged good carryout in a liquor store or a bar combined. We are the only, or I should say B&L Liquors
You want to stand for the board?
and PS Pub are the only.
I don't want you to use your time. Can we pause since there seems to be?
I think before the meeting, she can still sign up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just a moment. There you go. Thank you.
Okay.
Sorry.
I believe that this one operation of B&O Liquors and PS Pub is the only one in town. If I'm mistaken, please correct me. Here's a combined liquor store and bar. And this operation that has been there for 20 years has paid their amount, increased their gaming fees, and has done everything that the village has asked. But I believe that there's a problem with the fee for this particular license that wants to be changed. And I think it's singling out B&O Liquors and PS Pub, since we are the only ones in the village that has a combined license. And that is a ridiculous amount of $7,000 and $250 increase when you are now allowing nail salons $250 to have beer and wine. Something's not even, or I believe that it's not fair. My idea is that maybe we should look back at why it went into executive sessions instead of being open to the public. As far as the cost factor was, how did we raise this so much? It makes no sense. I have never heard of a $300 increase for some kind of administrative concerns. That's what the license is about, administration. As far as I'm concerned, I don't know what else this money could go for. I just think that maybe it's time that maybe we should take another look at it. That's my concern. So, and I'm very concerned because I'm the property owner, and I believe that you're trying to put us, or put the business that has been here for 20 years, not falling into the new plan or something. Maybe you don't want us anymore. But maybe we would like to have someone re-examine this cost. I think it's only fair. That 300% is ridiculous. Thank you.
Donna Bestone?
Hi, Donna Bastone. B&L Liquors, the Prop Station Inc., one corporation. So I want to apologize. It's 3,000% that we're being raised. I tell her not to drink wine at lunch, but this is what happens. So our problem here is that I'm always feeling like we're trying to defend our business and staying in business in this village. We have great staff. We're on-premise owners. We have complied through all these years. We pay our fees. I can't see paying an additional $7,250 from a $250 charge that we've been charged for the last 21 years. I don't understand why this is happening to us at this point in time. We are a CV combined license. We've always been that way. I'd like to know, are other businesses in this town being affected this way? I see TIF money going out to other people, money coming back to them. We've never asked for anything really from you guys. We run a tight ship. Our employees are long-term. Our customers are long-term. They're very loyal. And we pay a lot of taxes, we pay a lot of insurance, and this is adding an additional burden on our family. Nobody is riding around in a new car here, so, I don't understand where this increased and the change of the liquor code, why we would be affected by that since we've been in business for 21 years. I would say these new conceptions, maybe you could instill it onto the new people that are coming into town, swim up bars in spas. I mean, I think it sounds great. I love the King Spa. I like the concept of that. A new spa that's coming in from the gentleman that was speaking. I believe he was here in September. I understand the build-outs of all these different businesses everything is by chance here. And we have stayed in this business for the sole purpose of adding something to this community and adding this extra burden to my family. I don't feel is substantiated, and I don't see how it could be fair. And I do kind of feel targeted myself. So that's what I have to say about that. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Madam Clerk, I may.
Consideration of a request for a Class A liquor license from Cyma Hospitality Ventures USA, LLC, DBA Palamuru Girl, the new owner of the existing restaurant at 401 East Dundee Road.
Mr. Spondulis, what do we have?
Thank you. As the title indicates, this is quite simply a change in ownership of the Surrey restaurant located at 401 East Dundee Road. The new owners are here this evening, and apart from said change in ownership and the restaurant's name, operational changes are expected to be minimal without any changes to the interior of the restaurant. If there are any questions, I think we can ask the petition.
Questions? Commissioner Papantos?
For staff, did we receive the Bassett certification and have the background checks completed?
We have not, so any motion would be subject to those two things. First, the submission of Bassett certificates for all appropriate individuals, and second, satisfactory background check results.
And then does that mean that at this point they cannot serve liquor until such time that we issue a license, or?
Has the ownership changed hands officially? yet. I don't have an effective date.
I know there's a new name out front.
I don't, the manager remains the same.
We have issued licenses subject to contingencies and let businesses start doing business. And if it comes back, like a background check comes back, that may not be completed, the license would be revoked. So I think it's up to the commission to decide how that wants to be handled. If you want to let them go ahead and do business, and if the conditions are not met subsequently, we act to remove their license or make them wait until the conditions are met. I think that decision is yours.
Do we have, if they don't have basset certificates, do we have any liability if there's a problem?
No.
No? Okay. I have no problem letting them continue business until you get approvals.
Take a consensus of the board. Commissioner Papantos?
Yes, I'm fine with the contingency.
Approving with the conditions and a temporary,
It's approving, letting them do business currently, contingent upon the conditions being met, so they can continue to do business, but they have to meet these conditions. Basset certificates should be able to be obtained very quickly. I'm not sure why they're not here now.
We are 3 members. Mine is already there. I'm existing owner only. So a couple of members changed. So I am the one who is running Siri for the last 3 years. So a couple of my partners changed. He is my new partner. So that is where his Bassett will be coming in tonight to Mr. Martin. And my other partners is already ready. I just need to send it an email. So we should.
It's an online training.
Yes. So half of his training is done.
Right.
So rest of half he will complete tonight.
Maybe next couple of days will be completing those Bassett certificates.
Tonight.
Motion approved with conditions.
right, okay. So, I mean, I'll finish the
Yes, I'm fine with that.
I'm okay, too.
Kruger, Ruffalo, okay. We do need a motion then, and.
So moved.
Wait, are we done?
Yes, as long as the motion is made with the 2 conditions already stated.
Motion's made conditionally. Who made the motion?
Jim Fato.
Jim Ruffalo, seconded by
Second?
Commissioner Kruger. Now we can have a roll call.
Commissioner Kruger?
Yes.
Commissioner Lang?
Yes.
Commissioner Papantos?
Yes.
Commissioner Rafato?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogel?
Yes.
Chairman Horker?
Yes, thank you, congratulations.
Thank you, sir. And I would like to take this opportunity and thank Mr. Andrew and John. They're always very supportive to us. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. We need a motion to adjourn from the Liquor Commission.
Second?
Commissioner Lang, you made the motion,
Lang.
seconded by
Yes.
Commissioner Papantos. All in favor? Aye. Meeting adjourned. I'd like to call to order the,
I have to stop the meeting. Give me 1 second. I got to open the other meeting.
okay. All set?
Yep, I just handed it.
I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the Village Board for October 7th, 2019. Roll call, please.
Trustee Vogel?
Here.
Trustee Papantos?
Present.
Trustee Lang?
Here.
Trustee Kruger?
Present.
Trustee Rafato?
Here.
Trustee Vito is absent with notice, and President Horker.
Here. You have before you the meeting minutes for the minutes of the regular meeting of September 16th. I need a motion for their approval.
So moved. Second?
Motion, Trustee Papantos, second, Trustee Kruger. Roll call, please.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Rafato?
Yes.
Trustee Kruger?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
President Horker.
Yes, you also have before you the minutes of the joint workshop meeting of September 18th. I need a motion for their approval.
So moved.
Second?
Motion, Trustee Vogel, second, Trustee Papantos. Roll call.
Trustee Rafato?
Yes.
Trustee Kruger?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
President Horker.
Yes. Are there any changes to the agenda?
There are no changes this evening.
Thank you. That brings us to citizens' concerns and comments. Clerk Hannaberry.
Okay. Members of the public may address the board, with comments regarding only those items that are relative to, it's the chair. relative to village business. No citizen shall speak for more than 5 minutes without consent of the board. Members of the general public who wish to address the board must sign the request to speak form prior to the commencement of the public meeting. Deborah Wilson. On tonight's approval of bills packet, you'll see that the village manager, John Svandilis, spent money at the Ramada in town getting a room, and then he reimbursed it a week later. That happened also a few months ago. The man has a home not that far away. I don't know why he's getting a room at a local hotel. It's happened a few times. You think that's funny, Mr. Svandilis?
I actually do.
Tell me why.
Because it wasn't me, and if you read the bills, you would see that that charge was for Haley Reinhardt, who was paid to perform for the 4th of July event.
Okay, so June 21st, I saw you with another member on the Wheeling payroll at a restaurant, and your car was not in that parking lot. I sat right across from you, and you went out to the parking lot before I was finished with my meal, and when I went out there, you were still standing there talking to the young lady next to her vehicle. I didn't see your vehicle anywhere. Where was it?
As I would like to remind
I'd like to know where it was.
This is the time for the citizens to express their concerns.
Okay, well, I have a response from Mallory Maluzzi, an attorney for this village. I had asked for the first 90 days of email correspondence between village manager Svandilis and the employment of 2 separate young ladies in this village. And her response was that all of those emails were entirely too personal in nature. So I think that's a problem when a boss's emails with his employee, a direct subordinate under him, not 1, but 2, the contents of those emails are entirely too inappropriate. Okay, so Haley Reinhardt is your Rockin' the Runway expenditure at the Ramada. That was the one from 2 months ago. The one on tonight, there's been 2 of these expenditures at the Ramada in the last 3 months. What was the other one for, Mr. Svandilis? And if so, why were you paying for Haley's room? Because both of them said it was to be reimbursed by you. One of them shows a reimbursement. Nothing. He's got nothing to say.
I have a lot to say.
Not the time for discussion or debate.
Mr. Svandilis has a reputation for not being a morning person. Mornings are very hard for him, as was proved by the Edgar County watchdogs when they obtained all of his electronic swipe cards for a whole year, and he's not here until everyone else has arrived 4 hours. He's getting in at 11 o'clock. Some days 9:15 if we're lucky. Most days 10:45, between 10:45 and 1 p.m. You people are his boss. And you let him get away with this. I did FOIA requests to every municipality in the Northwest Municipal League, and I got all of their village managers' electronic key card swipes, and these guys are all in at 8 a.m. 8 a.m. Trustee Papantos and Lang had all kinds of fun with it at a meeting last spring when I was here, alleging that he's just swiping, he's just walking in when someone else is doing their swipe. Well, how do you explain it 5 days a week, every week for a year? You both think this is very funny. It's just, they wanted so much, this board, to prevent the public from knowing what a loaf our village manager is. They spent $34,000 to pay the legal fees for the opponent who won the case, the Edgar County watchdogs. So not only did we lose the case, the judge ordered the release of those records. We had to pay the legal fees to the tune of $34,000 to keep a secret how this poor guy can't get his head off a pillow before late morning. Someone's got to be the heavy here, folks. You guys are way too interested in being his friend. That's a problem. You're showing contempt for the taxpayer by contracting out his local, his statutory ordained duties in your own municipal code. Haley Reinhardt doesn't need you to pay for her hotel room. She's got family right here in town.
You got to cut this guy loose. He's dragging us down. Kleinthorpe Jenkins got very wealthy. And the taxpayers are losing out.
That's it, Ms. Wilson. Anybody else?
That's it.
Thank you, Clerk Sims. I'm sorry, Clerk Hanover. Sorry?
No staff reports?
Yeah, Sherry. Yes.
Excuse me, President Horker,
Yes.
may I comment on some of the innuendos and lies that we've just heard, or would it be better to wait?
I was going to do it later, but whatever. Yeah, go ahead.
For those of you who are still listening, you've watched the comedy show once again. There are contracts that are made as far as entertainment goes. People do have contracts that they would have a hotel room. That was part of the contract for Rock and Run the Runway. John Spondelis probably works more hours than the speaker has ever worked in her life in one day. Whether or not he is standing in this building working, or if he is working from home and getting his job done, is up to the board to decide. And believe me, he's getting the job done. We did not lose a court case. Edgar County, well, based on what she said, Edgar County chose to challenge a FOIA request that we had denied. They have the right to go to court. In this particular case, the judge said, yeah, let her see swipe cards. Let her see the time people come in and go out. She could not have gotten all the information from every municipality because not all of them use that type of system. So when you hear some of these stories, please take them with a grain of salt. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Papantos. Thank you. I'm sorry. Sherry Huizer, Director of Human Services, you have something about complete count for us, and please tell everybody what complete count is. And incidentally, I bumped into somebody from the Census Department just last night, and they asked me if we had our committee formed, and I said, I have no idea, but that you would be the one to ask, and so you may be getting a call from them.
Okay, well, yes, we are in the process of doing that right now, but first I'd like to play a little video just to get us all excited about the census.
Can one girl in a small town, an architect in a major city, and a suburban high school coach shape the future of the United States?
Okay, Luca. There's a man behind the screen.
Can one girl in a small town, an architect in a major city, and a suburban high school coach shape the future of the United States? Yes, they can. Because every 10 years, the census gives us that power. You can shape your future by responding to the 2020 census. Where do we need new roads to make our lives easier? Where will new school programs help our children thrive? Where could a new health clinic benefit neighborhoods? The 2020 census will inform these decisions and shape how billions of dollars will be distributed to communities like yours each year. And in 2020, you can respond to the census online, by phone, or by mail. It's easy, safe, and important. Make sure you and everyone you know is counting. Now is the time for you to get involved. Your community needs you. Together, we can educate and excite, inspire and make sure every voice is heard. Together, we can shape our future.
All right, so as it discussed in this video a little bit, over $675 billion annually is distributed based on census information. That helps us plan for hospitals, nursing homes, clinics, housing assistance, development of rural areas, roads, infrastructure, rents, all kinds of things. The process began actually last year when the Census Department sent the Census Bureau sent the questions to Congress. They opened a few regional offices, including one in Chicago. This year, their work has been to begin partnership activities, which include complete count committees, and they're forming right now. They also have been verifying addresses and are opening 248 local census offices. In January, the advertising from the Census Bureau will begin, and we hope to have advertising and information through our complete count committees as well. The public response will begin. Census Day is April 1st, 2020. If you don't fill it out, call in or go online. Someone will knock on your door, and the results will be sent to the president once all of the information is collected. So an invitation to participate in the census will be sent out the beginning of March. You'll be sent a letter if you have not filled it out. You will get a reminder postcard if you don't fill it out. We hope that everyone will fill it out April 1st if you don't do it before. And then our goal is to get everyone counted. And that means working with our complete count committee. We have sent out invitations to local organizations, and these are the organizations, or some of the organizations we have invited, including our municipal government, schools, faith-based organizations, business organizations, healthcare organizations. We've invited them all to a meeting on the 24th of this month. These are some of the activities that we hope to get done through our Complete Count Committee, including basically having our media message be the same through all of these organizations in the village, because our goal is to get everyone in the village counted. The hard-to-count communities, which are some of them that we actually have in the village, we will be working to provide specific targeted outreach to those groups to invite them to participate. And our kickoff meeting will be Thursday, October 24th at 9:30 a.m. at the Indian Trails Public Library in the Lake Room. We thank the Indian Trails Public Library for providing us a space and being a great partner. And if anyone has any information or would like additional information or to volunteer, please give me a call through the Human Services Department, and the number's up here.
So then people can fill this out online ahead of time, and nobody comes to the door, and
correct. What will happen is they will be sent a postcard with information, with an identification number that they need to use to fill out online. Okay. They can fill it out online.
Or they can fill it out and mail it in, and then
they can mail it in. They will mail out forms as well. They will also have a phone number that you can call in, okay, and they'll ask you the questions on the phone.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions?
On the call-in, is there choices for language?
Yes, there's many choices for language.
Trustee Kruger.
Director Huizar, I happened to watch the video that's available on the village website regarding the address canvassing. That's been going on in this town since August 4th, right?
Correct.
So, correct. And what exactly is that, and do people need to be aware that they can ask for credentials from a census worker?
Correct. The address canvassing has been going on since August. It should be wrapping up very soon. They're just out, the Census Bureau is out with canvassers making sure that we have every address, so that when they send out the questionnaires that they're counting every address in town. Every employee of the Census Bureau has an identification. They should be able to, they should have a number on there that you should be able to call to verify if you do have questions. But they may not be knocking on the door. They may just be kind of walking by and making sure that these addresses exist.
Got it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Trustee Kruger. Any other questions, comments? Thank you, Chair. Mrs. Weiser. Consent agenda. Clerk Canterbury.
All items listed on the consent agenda are considered to be routine by the village board and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a board member or citizen so requests, in which the event in which event the item will be removed from the general order of business and considered after all other agenda items. 11A, ordinance amending Title 9, Chapter 9.18 miscellaneous laws of the Wheeling Village Code to add a violation for negligent or distracted driving. 11B, resolution authorizing acceptance of the State of Illinois' previously bid contract with CDW Government LLC for the purchase of Cisco network equipment in the amount of $149,190.96. 11C, resolution authorizing the village president to execute a grant agreement regarding congregate meals provided by the Village of Wheeling. 11D, authorizing the acceptance of a food service agreement with Hoffman House Catering for the Village Senior Services Congregate Dining Program. 11E, authorizing change order number 5 to the consultant contract with V3 Companies, Inc. in the amount of $2,682.73 for environmental remediation at 115 and 119 South Milwaukee Avenue. 11F, ordinance memorializing the natural termination of the life of the Wheeling Crossroads Central Business District Tax Increment Financing TIF District Redevelopment Project Area, and authorizing payment of redevelopment project costs and distribution of surplus revenues from the Special Wheeling Crossroads Central Business District Tax Allocation Fund.
Questions or comments?
So moved.
Motion, trustee Kruger, second.
Second.
Trustee Papantos, roll call, please.
Trustee Kruger?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Rufato?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes. New business. We have a
Public hearing request for Cook County's Class 6B property tax assessment classification for 160 Marquardt LLC for the property located at 160 East Marquardt Drive.
I would like to open the public hearing for the request for Cook County Class B property tax assessment classification from 160 Marquardt LLC for the property located at 160 East Marquardt Drive. Are there any comments from the public? Did I read that right?
I think so.
If there are no comments from the public, I would like a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved. Second.
Motion, trustee Rufato, second trustee Lang. All in favor?
Aye.
I would now like to,
11B,
11B, please.
resolution consenting to a Cook County Class 6B real estate tax
Oh.
assessment classification. Yes, keep going. Are you stopping me?
Should I
No,
read
no,
that?
go ahead.
Okay.
I made a mistake. It's okay.
I know what you're saying.
Vote's not going to sink.
Resolution consenting to a Cook County Class 6B real estate tax assessment classification for the property located at 160 East Marquardt Drive in the Village of Wheeling.
All right, back on track. Mr. Malenefi, what do we have here?
Thank you, President Horker. Good evening. An application was received for a Class 6B real estate property tax classification that was submitted by 160 Marquardt LLC. They're the applicant. They plan to purchase, substantially rehabilitate the property in order for its related entity, Edge One Medical Incorporated, to occupy the entire site for its own use, consisting of testing, development, manufacturing, consulting, warehousing, and distribution of products used in the medical device and pharmaceutical industries. This 33-year-old property is comprised of approximately 19,443 square feet, and they're situated on approximately 77,634 square feet of land. They've budgeted to repair and improve the property in preparation for occupancy for Edge One Medical Incorporated to be approximately $100,000 to $150,000. The proposed work would include updating the exterior entrance, update the landscaping, create an outdoor seating area for employee lunch and breaks, a new sign. They plan to improve the office area, the kitchen area, install new floors in the warehouse, laboratory area, and replace the HVAC system and install new interior doors, among other general maintenance items. The applicant forecasts that the rehabilitation will create approximately 10 to 15 construction jobs, and the property's been vacant and abandoned since April 2019. They currently lease approximately 7,500 square feet at 455 Campbell Avenue in Chicago. and their business is growing and needs to expand, and they plan to bring their entire operation to Wheeling, to the subject property, and all 15 of their employees, which is 14 full-time and 1 part-time. They plan to add approximately 12 to 20 additional employees in 3 years and 20 to 40 additional employees in the next 12 years, dependent upon the growth of the company. The village staff has reviewed the application as summarized, and we are recommending approval of the 6B based on reoccupation of a vacant property with special circumstances with a purchase for value and substantial rehabilitation. We also think that this pharmaceutical company will bring high-paying jobs to Wheeling and act as a catalyst for the attraction of additional pharmaceutical companies. The applicant is here tonight, should the board have any questions.
Trustee Papantos, would the applicant please come to the podium and introduce yourselves?
Hi, Jimmy Sarnoff on behalf of the applicant.
Lily Zachariah, President and CEO of Adjournment Medical.
Hi, Trustee Papantos.
Thank you, Ms. Zachariah. What type of, I think I read that you do some testing. You're mainly consultants for validation testing.
Yeah, so we're a consulting plus a testing house. We do a lot of mechanical performance testing of medical devices and a lot of pharmaceuticals that are drug delivery systems. So think of EpiPen, on-body injectors, et cetera.
So your testing is more on the mechanical side versus chemical side?
Correct.
I'm just getting towards hazardous waste if there's any.
Yes. If there ever is any, we treat it through controlled systems of biohazard, but it's all managed through quality system processes that we already have in place.
And any exhaust?
No.
And so you don't do any sterilization or anything like that there? Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Papantos. Any other questions? No other questions from the board. That being the case, I need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Motion, Trustee Vogel, second, Trustee Papantos. Roll call, please.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Rufato?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Krueger?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes, that was quick, huh? Congratulations. Welcome to Wheeling.
Thank you very much.
13C, public hearing request for Cook County Class 6B real estate tax assessment from Weber Flavors Real Estate LLC for the property located at 685 Chaddick Drive.
This is a public hearing for the public to make comments regarding the request for a 6B property tax exemption for 685 Chaddick Drive. A public hearing notice was published in the Daily Herald. Each member of the public shall have 5 minutes to make their comments during this time. Staff and the board will not answer questions. Comments should not be repetitive or argumentative. I'd like to open the public hearing. Now, any comments from the public about the next 6B? If there are no comments from the public, I would like a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Motion, Trustee Lang, second, Trustee Krueger. All in favor?
Aye.
13D, resolution consenting to a Cook County Class 6B real estate tax assessment classification for the property located at 685 Chaddick Drive in the Village of Wheeling.
Mr. Malenefi.
Thank you, President Horker. We received an application submitted by Weber Flavors Real Estate LLC, the applicant. They plan to substantially rehabilitate and then lease a vacant industrial property at 685 Chaddick Drive in Wheeling to a related entity, Edgar A. Weber and Company. They'd be the occupant. They will use the property as a cooler, freezer, storage facility and only for warehousing purposes. The subject property is about 17,930 square feet, situated on approximately 47,480 square feet of land. They've actually budgeted the cost to repair and improve the property in preparation for occupancy to be approximately $2.9 million. The proposed work includes a new freezer, cooler, dry dock, updating the office space. And they, in addition to installing an IMP freezer, the applicant will install an insulated floor, 3 new high-speed doors, and new LED lighting throughout the entire facility to accommodate the occupant's business needs. The property has been 100% vacant and unused since May 31st, 2017. Since the period of vacancy is greater than 24 contiguous months, this applicant does not qualify for the standard, or excuse me, does qualify for the standard 6B classification, and a finding of special circumstances is not required. Currently, the applicant is located in Wheeling at 549 Milwaukee Drive and 44 Century Drive in Wheeling, and has 106 full-time employees and 4 part-time employees. It's projected that 100 temporary construction jobs will be created to rehabilitate the property. Village staff has reviewed the application and recommends approval to 6B based upon reoccupation of a vacant property with a purchase for value and substantial rehabilitation. The applicant is here to answer any questions that the board may have.
Well, any questions from the board left?
There is.
No questions? There are no questions from the board. I thought it was interesting that it costs more to make a freezer and cooler than testing facility.
The equipment is very expensive, yes.
I would guess. So if there are no questions or comments, I need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Motion, trustee Rufato, second.
Second.
Trustee Vogel, roll call, please.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Rufato?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Krueger?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes. Congratulations.
13E, ready? Ordinance granting a variation from Title 19 zoning to permit a 6-foot tall opaque fence within the front yard setback area at 554 Sycamore Lane, docket 2019-20. Petitioners are here, I believe.
Mr. Jennings.
Thank you, President Horker. The petitioner is the owner of the home located at 554 Sycamore Lane. Similar to a fence variation that the board heard recently, the petitioner is a corner lot, they front on 2 streets, and by the requirements of the zoning code, are not allowed to install an opaque fence of a 6-foot height along the street frontage. In this case, the additional street frontage functions as a secondary frontage. The main entrance to the home is on Sycamore. They are seeking to install the fence along Vera, which would function as a rear yard. The Plan Commission reviewed the variation request and has recommended approval. Staff is also recommending approval. I believe the petitioner is here if you have any specific questions about their property.
Questions from the board? Left? No questions?
Not unless you want to say anything.
You want to come up and say hi? No? Hi. If there are no questions or comments from the board, we need a motion to approve. Is that you, Trustee Rufato?
So moved. No, I'm good.
Okay.
Second.
Second, Trustee Papantos. Roll call, please.
Trustee Krueger?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Rufato?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes. There you go.
You're welcome. 13F, ordinance amending the comprehensive plan of the Village of Wheeling to adopt the downtown station area plan to replace the station area plan, docket number 2019-18.
Oh, this one's going to take a while. Shouldn't? Mr. Jennings.
Thank you very much, President Horker. The Village of Wheeling stationary plan, which was originally completed in 2004 and has guided the village actions to facilitate the development of the town center area, has outlived its usefulness. We've discussed this at several meetings in the past. The board approved an RFP, the board approved the selection of Farr & Associates following an RFP process, and we've been working with Farr since August of 2018 to complete this project. At this time, we're very excited to have a plan that we believe is going to guide the future development from the town center west and also includes recommendations from the town center east. We have, just by way of reminder, many of you participated in this process. We had a unique planning process that had been recommended by Farr & Associates. We had a 3-day workshop called a charrette, where the development community, the Plan Commission, the board all had the opportunity to come in and work on the plan in progress. Since that time, FAR has been working with the staff to refine the plan. The plan itself is available on the village website. I can't describe all of it. It is a detailed plan, which I think really embodies all of the hard work that everybody put into it. So first, I'd like to thank the Plan Commission. I'd like to thank FAR, as well as the Ministers Steering Committee, and the support of the board has been really instrumental in guiding us forward. The plan has as its guiding principle the recommendations all focus development toward a more pedestrian built environment. The recommendations of the plan through the charrette took a look at different levels of village intervention to encourage the pedestrian walkable environment. The lowest level of intervention was regulate. The scenario envisions a minor village intervention where the board would create a zoning framework but would not do any additional major heavy lifting. The second scenario was a coordinate, where the village would intervene one greater level toward facilitating access easements. The third level was participate, where the village would more actively seek out opportunities to assemble property to ensure that the elements of the plan were realized. So through the process, FAR and Associates took the comments from the Plan Commission and different levels of village intervention and came up with a master plan. Again, it's available for you to read online. The end of the plan is a series of 5 steps that the consultant has recommended to ensure that the plan is effective. Number 1 is adopt the plan. Number 2, create a form-based code for the stationary plan. Number 3, market the plan. Number 4, implement high-priority projects. Those are specific items from the participate, usually a little bit of the coordinate level, but some of the participate projects where the village intervention is recommended to catalyze a certain style of development in the area. And number 5 is avoid steps in the wrong direction. So the consultant has recommended that we ensure that we don't approve projects that would be contrary to the elements of the plan. So with that, we have a representative of FAR here, Mr. Tim Kirkby. If you have any questions for him, I'm also happy to answer any questions you have.
Come on up to the podium, please. Trustee Papantos.
Thank you. First of all, I wanted to also thank the Plan Commission for going through this on a number of meetings and working with you. It's a great plan. I'm looking forward to it, especially the pedestrian aspects of it, providing a more walkable, they're busy tonight, a more walkable area for everybody in Wheeling. I think it's great. I'm very excited about this. Could you explain form-based zoning, though? I can't wrap my head around it.
Sure. So if you're familiar at all with the conventional zoning, usually it's a bunch of text. And you flip around from one page to another and try to figure out what in the world can be developed on a certain piece of property. And typically, the conventional zoning will regulate what can be there in terms of the use, and it'll regulate how big the thing can be by the square footage, and it'll usually have minimum setbacks away from sidewalks. Well, the form-based code is kind of different in that it doesn't typically care so much about what the use is, because in this day and age, even the things that used to be sort of obnoxious, like industrial uses and stuff, can sort of coexist. So it does regulate uses, but primarily what it tries to do is regulate the form. So there's a predictable, building shape that's established by those rules. And the other thing that's kind of distinctive about it is typically, rather than a minimum setback, this is something that's usually put in places where you want to encourage walking. And so we know that if you bring the building closer to the sidewalk and put storefront glass and things like that, it creates the right kind of environment for that. So usually the form-based code will have something like, if you look in this document here, one of the most important aspects of it is there will be a build-to zone. And what we were trying to do is encourage the buildings, rather than be set back behind a surface parking lot with curb cuts and things like that, to bring the buildings closer to the street like you'd have in a traditional main street. that sort of thing. And then to sort of flip it so that the parking happens in a zone behind that. And so what we have in the document there is each of the sub-areas has a regulating plan that depicts, it'll have building footprints, and then the building footprints are hypothetical, one of many scenarios of what it could be. But the important lines on there that shows like the build-to zone and the parking zone, that's the framework that we would recommend that whoever ends up doing a form-based code, if you decide to take that next step of implementation, that's a starting point for them to go into each one of these sub-areas and get serious about what the plan, where the buildings should be sited. But then it would also have a little diagram on there, and hopefully these form-based codes, the idea is that it's something that's really easy to understand, so that it even uses pictures, graphics, and things like that to show just what that predictable outcome would be. So it would say the building should be between this height and that height. The ground floor should have mostly windows, things like that. Does that answer the question?
Yes, thank you.
Sure.
Are there any other questions from Trustee Lang?
Yes. So the crosswalks, how big of a challenge is that going to be for, I know there's, if it's lined up with a light, for instance, it shouldn't be that big of a deal to enhance that crosswalk. But there's a mid-block one by the rail. And so would that present a big challenge to us? It seems very necessary. Would that present a challenge to us because of our luck with IDOT in the past?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. It is a challenge. It really is. And that's why I think at first when we did this, we thought, gosh, where can we put a crosswalk? And we had one. We kind of we were a little bit timid about it. And by the end, what you see here is we said, no, the right thing to do really is to recommend crosswalks at wherever we can put them in the mid-blocks. And one of the reasons for that is that even though it is a challenge going up against IDOT, one of the things that will help your case is if a document like this makes that recommendation. So it was important for us to do what we thought was right, even recognizing that it's not going to happen on day one or anything like that. Hopefully it's something that can, like we said, one of the recommendations is don't do the wrong thing. So the next time that the folks out there are getting ready to make a major infrastructure project, let's just hope that they don't pour more investment into the wrong thing, widening it, for example, without taking that into account. All that said, the specific mid-block crossings that we have with the pedestrian islands there are in keeping with what our understanding of what the current IDOT standards would be, and that we also know that they're even working on those right now. It just so happens that they're working, the consultant that was part of our team, Sam Swartz Engineers, is the consultant that's helping them write their new regulations. So we understand that the stuff that we've drawn on there is, as far as we know, consistent with what's going to happen. But no, you're right. I mean, we think it's really one of the most important things. It's kind of amazing to think that it's over 1,000 feet or so, 1,500 feet on average, a 5-minute walk to get from one to the other. And so often these kinds of TODs, the transit-oriented developments, are all about allowing pedestrians to get from one side to another. Yeah.
I like the idea as well with the creek crossing behind is Lynn Plaza right now. And that's a fantastic idea. We do need to get with the folks from Linmark, is that who they are? To talk with them soon. Their shopping center is really aging.
Yeah, agreed. I really think it's an exciting opportunity. And even this evening when I was on my way here, and I was at the intersection there, and I could see straight through, and I thought, gosh, there's like 600 new apartments over there. This thing has its back turned to it. I could just absolutely imagine how opening that up and having that trail could make a huge difference. And when we had that charrette when we were here for the workshop, the owner of Lynn Plaza actually was really receptive to the idea, really into it.
Oh, great.
Yeah. And just in general, the whole trail thing, everybody that we've talked to says, gosh, what an opportunity, like what an underutilized asset that thing is. And I joke sometimes when I'm here that Google thinks that it's the Wheeling drainage ditch. I'm like, no, got to brand that thing as the Buffalo Creek Trail, and it's and the other, like we said in the report, there's TOD, most people think that's a transit-oriented development, but also a trail-oriented development is a huge economic, I guess, there's studies and things that all over the country, and they've found that folks out there riding bikes on these trails really do drive economic development, even more so than folks in cars. So.
I thought we took care of the Wheeling drainage ditch issue with
on Google?
Didn't
that
that get taken care of a while back, and now it's called Buffalo Creek? I mean, officially on the FEMA maps?
Correct.
So it should always be referred to as Buffalo Creek. Where is it not appearing that way?
You know, I said that, but that was, you know, when I first looked at it probably last fall. So maybe by now
it was
Google
years
has
ago
picked
that it was taken care of, so it shouldn't show up that way.
Yeah.
As Wheeling drainage ditch sounds so positive, doesn't it? So anyway, we'll have to work on calling it by that proper name as well. And the only other thing is the aircraft carrier. That was a great example that you had in there as well of.
Thanks. We use that one. My boss was like a real naval ship junkie, I guess, growing up, so he always memorized the lengths of ships, and now we always have to use that as examples. Yeah, but just in general, I think like so much of it really, the opportunity here is for branding stuff, you know, and you have so many great amenities and ways to just differentiate from other towns that have things going on. So like we put in there that maybe even Lynn Plaza could be renamed to something else that really embraces that kind of like the Hispanic grocery stores and things like that. So Plaza del Arroyo, whatever, you know, it could be something, anything like that, but to really just embrace that and go with it. And sometimes it's maybe not even best to be the brightest, shiniest, newest thing, but if something has a little bit of history to it, even like the fireplace store or things like that, you know, there may be some value there, you know, more so than we think. The idea of like, and even just one last comment, we had our market expert on this also encouraged us to try. She says, you know, folks these days are looking for authenticity and places that have a little more character, you know. So I think there's a lot of that here to go with.
Well, thank you. Great plan, and thanks to everybody who participated in it. It's a great starting point for the future.
Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Lang. Did you have something? Yes. Trustee Rufato?
Thank you. Just a couple of questions, and again, I was part of the original planning, and there were some great sessions. Around the residential, we mentioned that we're adding 900 more units in this area, but that is still short of a target that I think you feel we should have in this area. Could you expound on that? Because a couple of people have come up to me and said, boy, we have a lot of rental units now. So could you expound on that a little bit more?
Yeah, there is actually a part of the report there, and I think that it's in the chapter, what do we call it, chapter 2 with the market analysis that compared the TOD area of Wheeling to some of the other places like I think we had Mount Prospect in there in Arlington Heights. Some of the ones that were on the train, the Northwest train line.
Park Ridge.
The Park Ridge, yeah, those ones that, it's true that train line has a lot more service. And so you might say that that's a little apples and oranges comparison. But the idea here is a little bit of a chicken and egg dilemma where in order to justify more train service, you got to have more people riding the train. But to have more people riding the train, they may feel like, well, we're not ready to get that kind of density here and abandon the cars. But our recommendation is one of the key recommendations is to increase density, increase residences around there, but also to caution that since there is, at this point, maybe a saturation of the rentals around here, to just, you know, be cautious about letting that play itself out a little bit before jumping into necessarily another big apartment development. And so most of the scenarios that we show in here are like townhouse kinds of things, a little bit of a different product than what you already have here with the uptown and the town center. But generally speaking, yeah, we think that as the town center area expands, and we think that it'll mostly happen to the west, hopefully until that Ozinga property can be turned into something a little better use than the cement plants and that would be probably a smart place to have more of these kinds of rentals. But then on the other places, we're trying to make these sorts of mixed-use developments where along Dundee you have commercial, but behind that there's plenty of room to do more townhouse and things like that, more dense than the single family. Yeah.
And another question that I had, you also talk about office space, you know, and can you also expound on that and the direction you think this would take?
Yeah, and so one of the things that Bridget Lane from BDI advised us early on was that compared to what happened in the original station area plan, there was really detailed recommendations about you should have this, go after this many square footage of this many square footage of that, which isn't often what you get with these kind of market analysis. And in this case, it was like, rather than try to predict exactly what kind of uses should go there, concentrate more on the form. And that's where the form-based code also is a big part of it. And so when we have these things drawn here that are 2 or 3 story buildings, ground floor, hopefully something that engages the street, like commercial would be ideal, but also we know that the future of commercial is a little shaky right now. And to think that we're gonna have all these, anything like retailers and things like that, we can't count on that. But at the same time, office is, we think, more viable in general, whether that's on the ground floor or even on the upper floors. But in a lot of cases, we're finding that things like medical offices tend to like to be in those smaller sorts of buildings, almost like little office campuses that could work pretty well in a lot of the sub areas within the station area.
And then, thank you. And then lastly, you have the 3 strategies. Regulate, coordinate, and participate. Are we supposed to land on one of those, or is it going to be a combination of all 3 of those?
Well, what ended up happening was, so in when we had the 3 planning scenarios that we put out for feedback, in that case, each of the 8 sub areas, we put through the test of the regulate, coordinate, and participate, just to see what would happen. And then for the final plan is basically a hybrid. It's just hopefully a synthesis of the best of each one of those. So if you look through it, depending on the sub area, we go ahead and say, for this place, we recommend just do the form-based code and let things play themselves out that way. Other ones we said, look, this is a really important one. And put a little more effort, put much more effort in this one, let's say, and go ahead and participate. Use this last piece of property here that the village owns to assemble it and make this thing possible. So in the final document, we actually say for each place which one of those is probably the right one, in our recommended approach to it.
Great. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you, Trustee Rufato. If there are no other questions, we're accepting this, we're voting to accept this?
Yes, an ordinance.
Yeah.
You're codifying
So this is, okay. So just to make it clear to everybody, this falls into our development process as, it's not really the comprehensive plan, it's not really the zoning map.
It's a sub-area of the comp plan.
That's correct. The station area plan is actually a piece of the Dundee Road sub-area plan inside the comprehensive plan. So this would take the place of the existing 2004 station area plan to guide the area in a very specific targeted spot within the Dundee Road sub-area. So it is a comprehensive plan element.
So if developers were to do a little bit of homework, they could find this online and see exactly what we would, hope would be coming here, and maybe even get ahead of us, and they could stand here and say, look, this is what's in your station area plan, and we want to do this?
That's correct. One of the recommendations of the plan itself is actually to market the plan. So in addition to just putting it on the website.
That's what this questioning is about.
We would have a more targeted approach to make sure that the development community is aware of the vision for the area and the steps that we plan on taking to achieve that vision.
Excellent. TIF funds could be expended on that?
Yes, this is entirely within the TIF district.
Excellent. Now, can we have a motion?
So second.
I'll give a motion to Trustee Lang, second to Trustee Rufato. Roll call, please. Thank you, sir.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Rufato?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Krueger?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes. Item G.
Discussion regarding concept review for Tommy's Car Wash, 61 North Milwaukee Avenue.
Mr. Svandilis, what do we have?
Thank you. As the title indicates, before you this evening for concept review is Tommy's Car Wash. And before we begin, I'll explain the process for you and for the audience so that everyone understands exactly what a concept review is. I'm going to read some standard language that we use to introduce all concept reviews. Follow that with an introduction to Director Jennings, who will provide a project overview. Then we will turn it over to the petitioner to present whatever information they would like to present. and then we will open up for questions from the board. So as we begin each concept review discussion, the current request is for a non-binding approval of the proposed major site plan and appearance review. The feedback by the board will be used by the development team as a guide in the preparation of the formal development plan. The outcome of this evening shall not constitute a formal approval or denial of the application. The decision by the board tonight is non-binding and shall not prevent the applicant from moving forward with the formal application. Director Jennings.
Thank you, Manager Spondilis. The petitioner, as was just listed, is an applicant for concept review. They wish to purchase 61 North Milwaukee Avenue, the former Don Ross property, and develop it with a car wash. There's an image that you see here. What I would like to do is give the petitioner the opportunity to present. We have a few slides from your materials available for you. The mouse on the podium does let you flip through those slides. And then once you have presented your concept plan, I have some additional comments based on the staff review.
Hello, everybody. I'm Brian Rubin.
I'm sorry, Brian.
Brian Rubin.
Rubin?
Yes.
Okay.
Zach Hamilton, my consultant from Great River Wash and Tommy's distributor.
Okay.
We would like to develop this land into a freestanding express car wash. We believe that the area along Milwaukee Avenue and Dundee can use this facility with all the development that's been happening, obviously, up here. We've been working with them. Any questions about the site Zach can handle?
Yeah, I think the idea for tonight is we just want to understand the village's take on a car wash on this particular piece of property. The landowner is here as well. He may have a few comments that, you know, this area is in a floodplain, as we're also working with V3 consultants, and we feel like this property, best use for this can be a car wash. I know the landowner has had several other projects that just can't make it work, but we feel we can actually make this piece of vacant property into a nice car wash that will add some extra service to the village.
Questions from the board? Trustee Panto? Oh, I'm sorry. Please.
Thank you. The staff review, again, obviously sympathizing with the seller in this case for the difficulty in trying to locate an end user for the property. Staff, although this is a special use in the zoning district, and this particular concept review is not of the use itself, staff has concerns moving forward that should the board encourage the petitioner to enter into the formal special use public hearing process, that a lot of the staff concerns would be difficult to address on this particular property. The staff concerns relating to access, the aesthetics of having the frontage of this property, essentially the queue for the car wash tunnel, the side of the car wash tunnel itself. So while some of the items listed in the staff review that you have in front of you for this evening, some of those items might be easily addressed. Some of the other items, due to the combination of the use and the configuration of this property, the impacts of the floodplain, the proximity to residential behind it, some of those things might be more difficult to address and ultimately will make it, I think, challenging for this petitioner to meet the standards for the special use. So with that, I just want to briefly run through some of the compiled staff comments from the review. The first comment that staff had related to access. The property, as you can see in the graphic, is located near the intersection of Milwaukee and Dundee. Left turn access out of the property might be constrained. We don't have a full IDOT review at this stage, at this conceptual stage, but we know from experience working with IDOT it can be difficult to get permits for curb cuts that allow full access where there's a conflict with the other left turn queues in the area. So that was one concern that we had. The aesthetics, in this case, the primary view of the building is the side of the tunnel, as I mentioned. It's also the queue for the pay station. In a busier time, what you would see from Milwaukee Avenue in this, at this critical intersection would be the queue of vehicles waiting to pay to get into the tunnel. There was a concern with noise from the staff review. At the bottom of this image, I don't know if you can see the mouse if I move it. At the bottom of this image here, you can see Shadow Bend community. The tunnel, the drying area from the tunnel faces that, that community. Again, it might be possible to adjust it. The vacuum area also extends fairly close to Shadow Bend. So these things all relate again back to the standards for special use. Is this use in this configuration in that location appropriate? Again, not the question for tonight, but it is going to be the question at the next phase, the ability of this project to meet the standards for the special use. Context, the area, the development of the area right around the intersection of Milwaukee and Dundee has been a combination of residential, commercial. There are car wash uses along Milwaukee Avenue. None of them have gone into the core close to the intersection of Milwaukee and Dundee to this date. So with that, I would turn it over to the board to ask questions of the petitioner.
Questions from the board, Trustee Papantos.
Thank you. One of my concerns is the number of car washes or places for people to wash their cars within the village. There's a current location, probably 2 blocks to the north of you, one that's being approved at the intersection of Milwaukee and Hintz. The BP gas station has had a car wash for as long as I can remember, and I've lived here all my life. What is the market need for something like this?
Well, so how we would like to address the market need is just the whole concept of what we're doing with this building and this layout. It's built for speed and it's built for volume. It's built for the perspective that although the queuing is along Milwaukee Avenue, there'll be rare times that there's actually a queue because the capacity of the equipment inside the building will allow for up to 150 to 180 cars per hour that could process. And so really the speed at which we can process, and it's really, we're all about the consumer experience compared to some of the competitors that are in town and even the one just, a half a mile north. I think that the concept of what we're doing is speed and efficiency and customer experience. So I feel like we're going to be a better provider of this service in Wheeling than some of the others.
But, I mean, it's taking from one to the other. If we haven't saturated the market, I mean, my fear is that we're just going to have businesses that can't be successful. There's only so many car washes you can have in a current week. And I'm also concerned, to be quite honest, of the location because of the way Wheeling has developed the corner of Milwaukee and Dundee with the fountains and what it looks like. And I'm not sure that a car wash fits into the whole concept of what we want along that particular area.
Yeah, I think the difference in the development of this building and the finishes that we can put on the building to adhere to any of the city guidelines, and the fact that it's really a very modern looking building. And so if the area is in new development phase, then this building is a very attractive building, and just, it's not just a car wash, it's more of an experience. And I think that that's the thing that, most people are used to going into a tunnel, and the advantage of this building and what we do is we're the opposite of a tunnel. We have a opaque ceiling that allows you to feel natural light. We have a lot of glass along the sides of the building, so you don't feel like you're going into the traditional tunnel. You're going in with natural light, so it's really an experience.
Okay, I'm not quite sure I've ever considered, an experience while I'm getting my car washed, but there's that thought. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Papantos. Trustee Rufato?
Just to err, I was going to hit upon the area that it's located in. It's just not conducive to what I would be looking for in that area. And in addition, less than 2 miles, we would have three car washes, and I've never thought about going to a car wash as an experience. And this doesn't fit into what my vision is for in that area. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Rufata. Any other comments? Trustee Vogel?
The noise is a concern. Is there anything that's come out in the last few years with the vacuums and even the brushes and the dryers? I've sat outside across the street from a couple of car washes already, and you can't hear yourself talk on the phone. Sure. Is there any mufflers, or is there any?
Yeah, so some of the technology we use does incorporate new design mufflers. You know, we're building new technology every day. What we have found in sound studies on properties just like this, the ambient road noise is actually louder than anything that's coming from the property. We have typically, in any scenario, been able to stay within any noise ordinance, and we're willing to put up sound barriers around the property, either with architectural walls or with landscaping or anything like that to diffuse it. But again, our experience has been that the road noise is louder than the car wash.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Vogel. If there are no other questions or comments, Mr. Smondulis, what are we
Thank
doing?
you. The village board is being asked to provide non-binding feedback to the developer. The developer may choose to move forward regardless of the board's feedback. Is the board in favor of the concept plan for the proposed Tommy's Car Wash development?
Oh. Please, introduce yourself.
My name is Doug Roth.
Doug Roth. Hi.
Hi. I don't think I've met everyone, but I am happy to say that I have been involved with wheeling since I was age 14. I'll be 65 next year. What I'd like to encourage everyone to think about right now is that we have been very good neighbors to you. We've provided a lot of income, and in addition to that, I think we've been excellent neighbors. We have tried very, very diligently. In fact, I'd like John to approach the podium as well, if he's able to do that. Okay. To give you a little bit of an idea of what we've gone through for the last 10 years. 10 years that we've been trying to sell our property. We would like, at this point, to feel a comfort level that the board is open to an opportunity, because right now that window's closing. There are very, very few things, if anything, that can be put on that piece of property. I know that there's a hope that Restaurant Row will resurrect itself, and I'm afraid that that is not going to happen. The reason I say that is that I'm an expert in the area of restaurants. I'm a consultant. I'm a consultant to WBBM. I'm a consultant to WGN and numerous other corporations, including Hyatt. I understand the market. I would suggest at this point that if you are not interested in a car wash, then you please let us know what you honestly think can be placed on that property as a result of the floodplain issues, as a result, as this gentleman just said a few minutes ago, about what's happening in the commercial marketplace today, as we know that that's cratering. You all had the foresight to develop what's behind us, and I drove through that, and that's a remarkable piece of work. But Milwaukee Avenue right now has its issues. These individuals behind us are willing to take a chance. And even though you might not think it's the best use, or that it's as exactly the right look, I'd like to know what is. John, would you mind speaking to what our arduous process has been over the last 10 years?
I think, yeah, that's kind of our job.
What's that?
Staff direction.
Well, I think that what's happened is that I've been in front of the boards before, and I don't recognize anyone now. And every time we've come, it has not met to anyone's approval for whatever we've brought forth. So help me understand how I can get a better vision, because I don't want to be in a position.
Well, right now, we're looking at whether or not the board sees this concept as appropriate for the site. It's not...
Well, the concept is a car wash.
Yes.
And if you don't want a car wash, we've already spent a lot of money. We have a signed contract. I don't want to spend any more money. And I don't think it's fair if there's a predisposition already.
I don't think it's about a predisposition. I think it's...
Yeah, I mean, I think that conversation perhaps is necessary, but one that would take place with staff outside of what is before the board this evening. There's a very specific request before the board, and I think they need to act on said request.
Yeah, this is concept review limited to the proposed site plan and building design. And the board will give you the input. You can take that input and move forward, Mr. Roth, as I think you heard, to the Plan Commission. But this is a pretty limited purpose tonight. Does the board agree with the concept as presented? Staff's made a recommendation against it. The board can accept that recommendation, can choose what it wants to do here, but this is a pretty limited
Can we address those
venue.
issues? To
Sure.
resubmit a site plan that takes into account?
Definitely.
Well, and it's also non-binding.
It's non-binding. You can move forward. Andrew, why don't you address the gentleman's question?
Sure. So based on the feedback from the staff and the board, you can decide how you'd like to proceed. The staff has identified some pretty clear concerns, I think, with the configuration of the site plan. I had mentioned that those same concerns, based on how it's presented right now, are the same types of things you're going to hear from the staff moving forward into the public hearing. If you wish to move ahead, that's certainly up to you. But the decision to revise and come back for a concept review, again, it is up to you how you wish to proceed. But the staff is willing to work with you on it. It's just a matter of...
I spoke with Steve Robles, and he forwarded me this information about your staff review Thursday afternoon, which we didn't realize we were going to get all this information 2 days before the hearing, saying this is a problem, this is a problem. All these issues can be addressed. We can rotate this building 90 degrees so it goes backwards, so the vacuums aren't as close to the residential. The big issue, this site is a ticking kind of a time bomb. The MWRD, right, is changing their water reclamation detention January 1st, 2020. We work with V3, who does a lot of work with the Village of Wheeling. They think that they can make this site work based on these detention issues. We would have to build a detention pond. But if nothing gets done by that time, I can't see anything after this 30% increase in detention. The site can't be worked on.
You want to resubmit.
Well, we'd like to address, we can, a new site plan to address all these issues that we think we can.
Which the petitioner can do regardless of what the board says tonight. This is exactly as the title indicates. This is simply a concept review, and as Mr. Roth said, just giving them some indication as to whether or not this project seems attractive to the board.
We resubmit, if we address those issues, would that change your guys' opinion moving forward?
Well, more importantly, would it change our opinion?
What's
Right.
that?
More importantly, would it
No, I
change
understand,
our...
but you take their advice. We have to spend a lot of money just to see if we can really make this work. And that's really the issue at hand.
Okay.
Doug, you can.
Well, you sort of just addressed it just now by the fact that you just said, will it change your opinion?
Right.
Right, but if you already have an opinion, then I'm asking at this point, which may not be under the Roberts Rules of Order, and I may be going outside of that, but I am saying as someone who I think is deserving at this point as a very long-standing, I guess we say, and tried to preserve what's there today, which is obviously vacant land, and have it mowed and everything else that we've been asked to do, that we get some direction and we get some sort of idea of what's going on in people's heads.
That's what this is about, pretty much. I mean.
No, the point is that it was mentioned that there are other car washes. Well, there are other restaurants, and that someone said, well, why would you want to open a pizza restaurant? Well, maybe because your pizza is better than someone else's. So that's part of being a free market. So I guess what I would like to entertain is that there are open minds on this board today that are willing to take a look at what these individuals are willing to change to accommodate what has been brought up by Mr. Jennings. And I might add that Mr. Jennings did not mention about the fact of Restaurant Row. So I do feel that it's so important that we look at an opportunity before that window closes, because we would be prepared to auction the land off ultimately. And I don't think you would want that, because I don't. But we're getting very, very tired at this point of having to appear and be rejected.
I think we've kind of gone in a circle. I do appreciate your position. I don't, I think we're doing what you're asking for. I think we're giving you our opinion.
And what is that, sir?
I will tell you as soon as I ask everybody.
Oh, okay, so you're going to ask the opinion of having, what is actually
the consensus? If we want is the board in favor of the concept plan for the proposed Tommy's Car Wash? It's a simple question. And then,
sorry.
Well, as presented. And it's a non-binding decision, and then you can, regardless of how it goes, yay or nay, you can go back to the board and either this is how we're going to start the process, because we really haven't officially started the process, or you can amend it and come back.
That is correct, sir.
Yes.
But as it is, we had 2 days notice, or they did, 2 days notice to basically determine the fact that we didn't even know there was going to be we had no idea that Mr. Jennings was going to do a report. We were just coming with an idea. And now they've already put down that they are not in favor. And I'm having a hard time with that when, in fact, ownership, or not ownership, but the buyer is willing to change and to accommodate the majority of the opposition at this point.
So this is the circle that we've gone around in, is that they do, I have said this just a few minutes ago, they can do that. And it's with no, regardless of how the vote goes, right?
Correct.
Yeah. I mean.
Okay.
Okay.
Mr. President?
Trustee Kruger.
When it's okay, I'd like to ask Mr. Roth a question.
Go right ahead.
Mr. Roth, I've been sitting in this chair for 6 years, and I don't recall other projects that you've brought before us. Can you refresh my memory?
That is correct. We have brought them before to the economic development side, and it has been basically told on numerous occasions, and I can go through everything from senior housing to Firestone to Culver's to others that have been told that they would not be a good use of the property.
I just wanted to be clear.
Yeah, that is correct. For clarification purposes, right. You're correct.
You have not been before us.
But I've been before us in the collective of being the Wheeling.
But I don't work with them every day, so.
Got it.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Mr. President.
Please. This is very awkward because we're now debating publicly, and I certainly don't want to argue again publicly, but all of those examples, there were reasons why those projects wouldn't work. The idea that we wouldn't want a Culver's is not accurate. So Again, that's not why you're here tonight, and I think we're getting distracted from what the question is before you. I just felt the need to defend the fact that the conversations that happened with staff, if there is any potential for a successful business to come into Wheeling, we will do everything we can to make it happen, period. It's not our job to give an opinion on the idea of a business. That's yours. If a business can work in a zone where it is appropriate, then we bring it to you for discussion. As far as the process goes, the concept review process has been vetted, has been used dozens of times. I would imagine that there was conversation between either Director Jennings or Assistant Director Robles about what the process would look like, the fact that there was a report being issued. I think we're getting distracted from what the question is before you.
So the question?
The question is the board in favor of the concept plan for the proposed Tommy's Car Wash development?
So I'll start on my right. Trustee Rufato?
No.
Trustee Vogel?
No.
Trustee Kruger?
No.
Trustee Papantos?
No.
Trustee Lang?
No.
I would concur. No. It's a non-binding decision. I mean, you can please meet with Mr. Jennings or Mr. Malinefi. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Item H.
13H, discussion regarding Wheeling Safe Communities.
Mr. Jennings.
Thank you. The staff presented a joint initiative of the Community Development Department and Police Department to the Village Board on June 17th. Crime Prevention Officer Scott Levert and I presented a program that has been spearheaded by the Police Department primarily. They've been working toward a version of the Wheeling Safe Communities program for quite some time. And recently at the June 17th meeting, we presented our recommendation to the board to pursue it. At that meeting, the board was provided an overview of the program, as well as what we anticipated would be our next steps should the board agree with the staff recommendation to pursue the implementation of the program. So at the meeting, we listed several steps. Conceptual approval by the board being the first step that was given on June 17th. The second step was prepare legislation. That is the current step. Kleinthorpe and Jenkins has been working with our staff of both departments to incorporate the recommendations that you see in front of you tonight into draft legislation. The draft legislation essentially takes the existing regulatory framework of the rental licensing program and adds to it certain elements that would be required in order to implement the Wheeling Safe Communities program. So specifically, the definitions of public nuisance, the definition of chronic public nuisance, miscellaneous definitions related to the program, as well as the threshold for triggering enforcement under the program. So that is the stage that we're at right now, the preparation of draft legislation. The other steps that were listed at that time were budget recommendations. The discussion during the June 17th meeting listed that the Community Development Department in particular would require additional staff to support the program as it was understood through all of our discussions with the other communities that already have a similar crime-free housing program. The budget for 2020 has been prepared with that recommendation in mind. Number 4 on our list was a rollout strategy. That is a work in progress. We're still refining all the different items that we would need to roll out the program. Number 5 was training. Primarily applies to the police department staff. Number 6 was data sharing. We need to ensure, and this is a very critical step, not a lot of interesting material here for a public meeting, but we need to ensure that the program works by supporting the sharing of data between the two departments. And so we're working on that currently as well. Landlord outreach, we've drafted materials. Should this program be implemented, we've drafted materials to hand out to landlords when they're renewing their licenses or if they're applying for a license for the first time, to explain the requirements of the program in advance of actually requiring the lease addendum to be on file and in advance of having the seminar attendance verified. So with that, we do have a couple of questions that are outlined, and I can hand it back to Manager Spondulis to handle that. But again, the materials in front of you are a draft. We're happy to answer questions that you have on the draft. Most of those I would probably defer to Mr. Ferrolo, since he did the heavy lifting in the preparation of the draft ordinance. But again, happy to answer any questions that would come our way.
What do you want to take it, Mr. Ferrolo? Questions first?
Questions first, sure.
Trustee Lang.
I'll ask this one for Trustee Vito, since he's not here. He had a concern, and it was valid, that some of the one-off rental units, the single rental units, it might be considered someone who has just maybe one unit that they're renting out. They moved, they decided to keep their condo or house or whatever it is. How do we make it a little less burdensome on those folks that have like just the one units, or, you know, and less costly as well when it comes to the training, the annual renewal, and so on? Is there a way to make it a little less burdensome on those folks?
Good evening, everybody. So the burden would be that they have to attend the crime-free multi-housing seminar.
Once, but is that annual?
It's just once.
Just once? Oh.
Yeah.
Then, okay. My take on it was that it was a kind of a renewal every year.
When we met back in June, there was some discussion that there might be a renewal that could be online, but the way the ordinance is written now, and other towns do this as well, there's only a requirement that the landlord takes the class once, and then should a need arise where they have to be sent to an additional training, we could make that recommendation, but it's not required.
Okay. Reading through this, I didn't pick that up, but thank you.
Sure.
In further answering, I'm really not sure how to distinguish a rent or a landlord that owns one unit from one that owns 2, 3, or 4. As long as you need a rental license in town, you're going to have to comply with the crime-free ordinance. There's really no rational basis to differentiate between those types of landlords.
Well, could I follow up on that question?
Well,
that answer? The one that just came out?
Okay.
If we can't do that, how can we charge $100 for the first unit and then $50 for additional units? Is every unit licensed?
Well,
or is the building licensed?
No, the landlord's licensed. The landlord who wants to rent has to have a license relative to each unit. That's how that works. So there's really, I'm not sure how you could establish a crime-free housing program and say it doesn't apply to a landlord that owns one unit that might have chronic public nuisances, but it does apply to a landlord that owns 2 or 3, when we're not really hearing about an excessive burden other than attending a seminar. Trustee Vogel,
no, I'm not questioning that. I'm just questioning if we don't know how many units the landlord has, how do we assess the fees is what I'm questioning.
I think fees can be based on numbers of units. I think those are 2 different things. You're saying don't apply the program.
No.
No, we do know how many units they have. We absolutely know how many units every landlord has.
Okay.
I think, you guys are.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
The answer is yes, we do.
Okay.
Okay, back on track. Trustee Papantos and then Trustee Kruger.
Thank you. On the education, on the seminar that they have to go to, my question is whether or not somebody owns rental units in another town, such as Palatine, that participates in this program. I believe was one of the
Yes,
examples
yes.
before. And if they go to a seminar there and have proof that they've attended, would it be transferable to our town? So in other words, I don't have to go
Can you
sit through
transfer
the
credits?
same. Pardon me?
Can you transfer credits?
So most of the other towns that I'm aware of that have the program do allow that. So if someone owns property in another jurisdiction and they've gone through the same training, that those agencies will recognize that training. We would recommend the same thing, but that would ultimately be your choice.
The ordinance is not written to allow the transference of credit, as it were, because each of the towns has some specificity to their ordinance. We want to make sure, again, because the burden is so low, that you just attend a seminar, that if you are renting or if you are leasing and wheeling, that you attend. If you're a landlord, you attend our seminar.
Okay. And Mr. Ferrillo, can you help me with public nuisance? So if there is a noise complaint at a particular house because the renters have a lot of parties and we have 2 noise complaints within a 12-month period, would that be considered grounds for the landlord to evict those tenants?
No, public nuisance is defined more along the lines of criminal activity.
I was trying to read all these.
Yeah, and that's what the crime-free housing ordinance is designed to address. You're actually addressing a nuisance, certainly. Noise can be a nuisance. That's not the type of nuisance that this ordinance is designed to alleviate. This really goes to the heart of limiting criminal activity. So for a noise complaint, you'd be left to the village code on nuisances. This would not apply to that.
Okay, so because it says 2 public nuisances within a 12-month time frame would be
Crime, public nuisance. But a public nuisance is defined as crimes. There are crimes listed. There are probably...
well, disorderly conduct was in there, and that's why I'm asking.
I mean, there are 12 of them roughly, maybe a few more. But and then chronic public nuisance is defined. There are 3 different definitions of that. The occurrence of 2 or more public nuisance activities, one of which constitutes a felony offense in the same rental unit, in the use of the same rental unit within a 12-month period. 3 or more public nuisance activities in the same rental unit, doesn't have to be a felony, within a 12-month period, or 6 or more public nuisance activities in regard to the use of multifamily residential structures. Public nuisances, keep in mind, are defined very specifically in this ordinance to be relating to crimes. There's a listing, not noise.
I just don't want to
odor
become...
or
Right.
rodents or things that we think of garbage, your typical nuisances. It has a very specific definition in this.
I just didn't want to get so strict that people can't rent apartments or whatever in town because they'd constantly be thrown out.
No, this program is very much like the programs we find in multiple communities throughout the state of Illinois. I think the number is close to 100 at this point that have adopted crime-free housing regulations. And this ordinance is modeled after Mount Prospect's ordinance, which has been in place, boy, I would say 9 years at this point. Was that right, Scott? Yeah. So it's a program that's really tried and true at this point, and it's proven to be successful.
That was my next, so the program does work? Great, thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Papantos. Trustee Kruger?
Thank you, Mr. President. Officer Laverde, I have a question about the landlord certification seminar. How long do you anticipate that seminar to last?
Well,
Has it been designed yet? Has it been?
Yeah, so we have it down to roughly 4 hours. So it's basically a 4-hour class that they can attend, and we'll be offering it during the week, on the weekends, in order to accommodate the demand.
And I read in my packet that these the seminars will be taught by our existing officers?
Correct. Me, of course, and then we have another officer that just went through the training as well. So there's at least 2 of us. There are 2 officers in addition that have had the training in the past. But yeah, we've been trained.
I'm concerned about the burden on existing police officers.
Does anybody else want to address the burden on staffing?
Because I'm thinking that it's going to take some time.
Yeah.
All the landlords trained. And that's going to be, what, 2 times a week? That's 8 hours. Maybe on the weekends, it's another, maybe 2 sessions, so that's another 8 hours. Thank you very much.
Well, we're committed to getting the landlords through the training. And as we like to say in the police department, it's about getting the job done. So right now, I don't know what the demand's going to be. It'll be based on how the program rolls out.
Trustee Kruger is an offset here. We're going to invest some time at the front end of this, hoping to alleviate some of the issues that would be time-consuming, manpower to burden with the chronic issue homes and people. So if we invest some time up front to let everyone know what the expectations are, we can alleviate some of the issues on the end. So it's a good trade-off for us to be involved.
Fair enough. I like the idea of getting ahead of a problem and spending our time there. And it's safer. I just didn't want it to be a burden on our police officers.
And it also provides us an opportunity, again, to put our officers in front of the public and interact with the public.
Absolutely. I like that part too. Thank you.
All right, so we have to clarify 3 points on this. Thank you for the microphone. Oh, wait.
I just have one question. Trustee Lang talked about, Trustee Lang discussed the certification having just to go to 1 meeting, but your comment is the landlord certification seminar a one-time requirement, and your response was no. Recertification is required, so I just need some clarification on that.
So there is no recertification required. However, there's a provision in the ordinance, and I would have to look at it, where if we anticipate that it's going the wrong way, or can anybody check the ordinance?
I have. It's section 4.84056D. What that says, Trustee Rufato, is that after 2 years of the initial certification, if there are issues relative to summarize, if there are issues relative to the property, crimes have been reported relative to the property, the police department can identify a property that looks to be, as Officer LeVert is saying, going the wrong direction, and require a landlord to recertify. Okay. It's discretionary with the police department based on performance.
Okay, great. Thank you.
So then back to the procedure. Public nuisance, we have to, do we agree, we have to ask, the question is, do we agree with all 3, or do we just?
This is fun. Ultimately, staff just wanted to make sure that we were moving in the right direction. Obviously, the ordinance is brand new, but there were 2 things that we wanted to point out just to make sure that everyone was on the same page. The first is the definition of chronic public nuisance. So there are 3 points to it that are already inside the ordinance, that's already written into the ordinance. We simply want to make sure that the board concurs with the way the definition was drafted. And that definition is A, the occurrence of a felony offense in the use of any rental unit, or B, the occurrence of 2 or more public nuisances, see list and definition of public nuisance in draft ordinance, in the use of any rental units within any 12-month period, or C, the occurrence of 6 or more state or local offenses in the use of any multifamily residential structure. And President Horker, if it's okay, I'll just read the second question so we don't have to pass the mic so many times. This is in regard to fees. While there are costs associated with implementing the program, staff recommends evaluating the fees once the program is fully operational and we can understand the burden on village resources. So At this point, we're not looking to implement a separate fee from the license fee that already exists. So there is no additional charge by implementing this program at this time. However, we do expect that we would institute one in, say, 2 years from now, after we've had an opportunity to really understand how much effort is being put into it. But we just wanted to make sure that everyone understood we're not implementing any fee at this time, and want to make sure that you concur with that. Those are the 2 questions for you.
Are there any other questions?
One question. Thank you.
Dave's got one too.
On the Lisa addendum, is that something that we would give to the landlords so that they don't have to hire an attorney and write something up?
Yes, yeah, so we provide the lease addendum, and then the landlords have to provide a signed copy of it to us. So, for example, take VIP. They wouldn't have to provide signed lease addendums for all however many units they have, but they would just have to provide an example of one showing that they do use it and that it is signed and returned and on file.
Keep in mind also that for current leases, we can't force current leases to be changed. This is new leases as they are signed. Current leases are pending contracts. We can't interfere with them. As new leases come online, they will then have to incorporate the crime-free housing addendum, which, by the way, was established by the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development. This is a federal requirement from back in, I think it was 2000, when this program first started for Section 8 housing developments. So this program has its real basis in federal law. And local, state law has picked up on it and used it effectively.
Thank you.
With that said, are there any federal grants to offset the costs that anyone's aware of yet?
No, there's no federal grants to offset the costs, but if I may, we have been offering this program for some time, and Officer Laverde has been already involved in this training on a voluntary basis, and there's been several complexes in the Village of Wheeling already that's adopted this program on a voluntary basis, so it's not unknown to the landlords in Wheeling.
Thank you.
Oh, Trustee Rufato.
Just one last thing. Mr. Ferrello, you mentioned this just applies to new leases. Is that also renewals? If it's yes. Yes. Okay. Thank you.
So we just need to, we're going to clarify the chronic public nuisance definitions, if everybody's on board with that.
Yes.
So yes or no on the 3 points for the chronic public nuisance: the occurrence of a felony, the occurrence of 2 or more public nuisances as listed in the public nuisance draft ordinance, and the occurrence of 6 or more state or local offenses in the use of any multifamily residential structure. Does everybody agree that that's a good addition to the amendment? Trustee Vogel? Yes. That was a yes. Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Kruger?
Yes.
Trustee Rufato?
Yes.
Thank you. And then the second point is, sorry, oh yeah, I'm sorry, I'm a yes. I don't take attendance. Thank you. Costs associated with implementing the program. Staff recommends evaluating the fees once the program is fully operational and the burden on the village resources can be analyzed. Does the board concur with this approach? I'm going to start on my right. Trustee Rufato?
Yes.
Trustee Kruger?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
And I am a yes also. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Luca, for the microphones. Next on the agenda, oh, that was it. Official communications.
Can't hear me? Wheeling Historical Society Annual White Elephant Event will be held Sunday, October 20th at 1 p.m. at Chamber Park. For more information or to make your reservations, call Clerk Simpson at 847-541-8692. The time on the website is not correct. It is at 1 o'clock.
Trustee Papantos.
Thank you. I just wanted to congratulate Director Urson and the IT department. One of the items in our consent agenda was approval of some new servers. He has kept those servers running since 2004. The amount of work that that group does is remarkable, so thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Papantos. If there are no other comments or congratulations, we do have before you the bills for September 12th through October 2nd, 2019. I do need a motion for their approval as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Motion, Trustee Lang, second, Trustee Kruger. Roll call, please.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Rafato?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Kruger?
Yes.
President Marker?
Yes. We do have an executive session tonight for the purposes of pending probable or imminent litigation. I need a motion to recess into executive session.
So moved.
Motion, Trustee Kruger, second, Trustee Rafato. Roll call, please.
Trustee Kruger?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
President Marker?
Yes, it is 8:25. We will be recessing into executive session. Thank you all for sharing your evening with us.